Hi, I'm Portee, fashion and lifestyle journalist and editor of Zayla magazine. I've always been interested in biographies and in the stories of people's lives, basically listening to what stirs their souls. Welcome to the Soulful Side of Life, where I let you in on some of my conversations with inspiring people from around the world in fashion, faith, entertainment, music, and entrepreneurship. These are conversations that stir the soul about people's journeys, about the ups and downs of life, and how they have overcome certain situations. I hope that these episodes will inspire your life in some way, so enjoy over a cup of something hot or on your drive to work. This is the Soulful Side of Life and can be found on Spotify Podcasts or Apple Podcasts. So, in this week's episode of the Soulful Side of Life podcast, we sit down with Deb Sofield, who is a global communications consultant, a keynote speaker, a former radio talk show host, a podcaster, and president of her own executive speech coaching co. She's skilled in training people for success, particularly in speaking, crisis communications, presentation, media, and message development. Quite simply, Deb can transform your messaging to be understood by the masses, helping you curate communications for political and corporate clients through private speech coaching and debate preparation. She's an author and visiting professor at Harvard University and their John F. Kennedy School of Government. She's also on the faculty of the campaign school at Yale University, and Deb has also served on the board for the Women's Democracy Network of Washington, D.C., and she has served as mentor and trainer for the Center of Liberty in the Middle East. She's inspiring and she's done a lot in her career. In this episode, we talk about her Lebanese roots, what makes her skilled at what she does, and what makes for a good speech. Deb also touches on the U.S. president whose speaking style she admires the most, and what doesn't make for a great speech. So enjoy this podcast episode with Deb Sofield. Deb, thank you so much for joining my podcast.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It is so great to be with you today.
I know. And how cool is it that it's two South Carolina girls who've been blessed to travel the world a little bit, but we still have those South Carolina values in us.
We still do. And you know what's fun is that I see you on Facebook and on all these great places. You see me doing the exact same thing. And you're right. We're from the best little state in the nation. So South Carolina has produced two rock star amazing women.
Exactly. Okay, so my first question is, I remember when I was living in Lebanon, I think it was when I was living there, and you messaged me and you shared that you are Lebanese. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So my parents were with the United States government. They were stationed in Cyprus. They'd adopted my brother from Vietnam, and they were like, he needs a little sister. And word was that in Lebanon, you could adopt children. So my mother and my dad at the time took a vacation to Beirut. Wow. And it's an amazing story, Allie, because they said, we're going to the orphanage. We're going to get a little girl. Mom said she went to like 5 orphanages. And she said, Deb, nothing, it just didn't feel right. And so they had come back to the hotel, and the lady at the hotel desk could see they were a little disappointed. And she said, well, what are you looking for? And my mom says, we're actually looking for a little girl. And the lady at the hotel said, my sister works at a private hospital. Babies come in all the time. Mom said, put me on the list. Now, please note, this is a Muslim hospital in Beirut, Kahaldi Hospital. And so my mom gets a call. And she goes to the hospital and she's like, I'm here to get the little girl. And they're like, we gave her to another American couple. No. And my mother was like, we get the next one. And the doctor met my mother. Now, please know that they're very cautious who they give children to. And they said, you're not Muslim. They probably won't give you a baby. But the doctor met my mother and said, we've got the little girl for you. And thank you, Lord. I was the next one in the door. My mom adopted me along with my dad. And yes, I am Lebanese by birth. And you know what's amazing? I actually went back to Lebanon. I found the hospital where I was born.
Wow.
An amazing story. I was teaching at Harvard. I was in a cab. The cabbie looked Middle Eastern. We got into a conversation and he's like, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Lebanon. I'm just curious if I could find the hospital. He said, well, what's the name of it? I said, well, I think it's Kahaldi. And a cabbie in Boston says, oh, I know where that is.
Wow.
What? And I said, would you write that on a piece of paper? And then he wrote it in Arabic and he wrote in English. And the lady I was meeting in Lebanon, because I was going to Jordan, I'm a speaker and traveler. So I was in Jordan. I was going to go to Lebanon for vacation. And my friend Paolo said, oh, we know where that is. And Allie, believe it or not, her cousin Jod took me to the area. And they were about to tear down the hospital.
Wow.
And he talked to the construction crew, and they said, of course, she can walk through. So I literally have a picture in front of the hospital where I was born, 50 plus years ago. And
just a few years ago.
When they say you can't go home again, well, you can if you, when the stars align. So yes, I am Lebanese. I'm proud to be Lebanese. I'm of course American, but no, and I care about the Lebanese people so much. I helping a group over there that helps feed some of the people. So yeah, beautiful country, beautiful people.
Yes, great food. Do you go often? Or would you go again?
No, recently I was in Paris, and I happened to notice my friend from Lebanon was now living in Paris, just due to the situation. So we met up at the train station, and we took a quick train ride together, and then we met a few times and had meals together. But she runs a program that helps feed people in Zagreb, and so I do keep up a little bit with that.
Yeah, we should go together sometime.
I would love to.
It's a place that's near and dear to my heart, and the Lebanese are hustlers, and they know how to turn $1 into $100,000, and
all right, then I need to meet that person.
They're quite smart and shrewd in that way. But God took me there for 3 years. I was going to go for 1 month and stayed for 3 years, and we should go together.
I would love to. It's interesting. I meet so many Lebanese out and about, and we really are everywhere. Remember the original Phoenicians?
Yes.
So we're traders. We're everywhere. And I am never surprised when I look around. I'm like, Now, what's funny is I'm not sure that I look Lebanese. I'm an American, but Lebanese people can spot me in a crowd. And I believe it's probably my eyes. So it's almost like, oh, yeah, you're one of us. I'm like, well, yes, I am.
Yeah. I didn't know that, that all those years I had been aware of you, I didn't know you were Lebanese. And I don't even think I thought that you looked ethnic of any sort. But when you said it, I thought, oh, wow, I see it in the eyes.
Sure. Everybody says that. Yep. Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. No, we're blessed. And I got to say, the Lord gave me the right family.
Yes.
My mother, my dad did pass, and my mom moved to the States and remarried. And I got 3 blonde-haired, blue-eyed brothers and a really nice stepfather. So I've been very blessed in my life.
Yeah. And God had a plan for you to be born in Lebanon, but to go to the U.S. and to have a different life experience, and that's an amazing thing. Okay, so you are a communications expert, a keynote speaker, an author, a speech and media coach, and as you said, a crisis communications trainer. I'm specifically curious, what does crisis communications trainer mean?
Okay, so what I like to say to people, it's not if, but when. Mm-hmm. It's coming. Something your team puts on social media, kaboom, here comes the hate. Mm-hmm. And I call it the weaponization of social media. Mm-hmm. You've got to be careful. And the way I teach crisis communication is, yes, we put a plan in place. And really the number one plan is, hey, Allie, when something happens at 4 a.m, who do you call?
You.
And then how do you reach your team? Some of your team, if I don't know your number, I'm not answering the phone. And it's on silence at night. Do I text you? Do I email you? How do I tell the team? So there's really basic things you've got to put in place. And friends, you've got to have a living, breathing document that is a plan. Who speaks to the media? Who does not speak to the media? Where are you going to hold the press conference? Do you have the right person? And it's so interesting because groups that don't know this, they're like, well, we'll put the CEO out there. Honestly, that's the wrong person to put out, because what if he or she makes a mistake? Who cleans it up? I want someone who knows the plant. I want someone who knows how it works. So I encourage teams to let me help coach 3 or 4 people. So when the time comes, you're ready. But it's also, you must build goodwill. And if you're an organization and you've not built goodwill, when something happens, the public, because they don't know you, is like, yeah, they're a terrible company. Or the public says, that doesn't sound like that company. Look at all the good they do in the world. Yeah. So there's things you've got to put in place early, and that's what a crisis communications coach does. And then let me tell you, I got into that because I am an executive speech coach, and I realized I can teach you all the words, but when it hits and you're not ready, then I wasn't doing my clients a favor. So I branched out into this other avenue. Again, everything I do falls under public speaking, but this avenue has really kicked off. And again, it's because I always say to people, your audience doesn't want to be right. They want an audience. So the person who's attacking you, they're not looking for an answer. They want an audience. And we know in media today, there is a rush to be first, then right. Yeah. So as a coach, my job is kind of, it's the tough conversations, because you have to sit down, and I work in politics a lot. All right. Did you pay your taxes? Did you have an affair? What's going on with your kids? Because if you don't answer those questions, or at least have them in a book, you're going to be asked, and you won't be ready.
Yeah. Yeah. You said something key, a couple of times. It's about being prepared. And I remember I had to take public speaking in college, and I grew up very shy. And it's a course that I put off till as long as I could put off, because I knew I would have to practice that in front of the class. But the one thing I remember is having to be prepared for your speech. It's worse to not be prepared and to get up in front of people and not having practice or know the subject matter. How important is it for people to take, even in college, a public speaking course? Even if you don't use it, I think the skills will help you somehow in life.
So it's interesting, when I was coming up through the ranks and people were like, it's all computers, no one's ever going to speak. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm not great at computers. I know how to speak. I know how to present. I know how to train. I'm still going to go on this path. Yes, everyone should take public speaking. And I know that it's hard for some people, but you can do hard things. Yeah. Most important, if you want to get ahead, you better be able to communicate. Yeah. So I teach everything from how you stand up, how you walk in, how you walk out, because there are so many aspects to it for you to be good. And Allie, you're right. I have people who are like, well, I know it. No, you don't. Yeah. You have to practice out loud, because the line I use is, the ear can fix what the eye can't see. Yeah. The problem is, people write speeches and they're boring. And they're boring to the ear, or you have a word in your presentation your tongue just can't say. Pick another word. So you need a coach to help guide you through that. I do a lot on video. I show up in a lot of places. And as we were chatting before, I travel worldwide to help people present well. I've had everything from prime ministers, members of Congress, governors, lieutenant governors. I've had them all. But at the end of the day, you need to put your ego aside. Yeah. Because if your message isn't strong enough, it doesn't matter. I have so many people like, oh, I'm so afraid. Really, that's on you. And guess what? You and I, if our message is good, they'll listen.
Yeah.
Problem is, you haven't practiced that message, and you need to. And you need to have stories and quotes and sayings because your audience attention span is getting shorter and shorter.
Yes.
So you've got to be rock star amazing the minute you hit that stage.
For sure. And even having like techniques down on having cards as opposed to an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with double spaced, like that makes a difference instead of just having single spaced lines for your speech or yeah.
So I
Um,
don't like to wear my glasses when I speak. So I use 20-point type, and I'll
oh,
teach you how to slide those papers. Your audience will never notice it.
yeah.
So again, there's just techniques that you need a coach just comes alongside. And I say to folks, listen, I probably am not going to change your speech unless it's really terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But I come alongside. I just want to make sure you're amazing. And it's funny. I am just as excited as you are when you've rocked it on the stage
Yeah.
because I know you've been successful, and that thrills me as your friend and your coach.
When you work with people in other countries, do you have to have an awareness of their cultural speaking style, or do you just come in with your American way of speaking to coach them?
Great question. No, I don't just go barging in with my American way because, as you well know, Americans are really loud and
Yes,
boisterous.
yes.
And in some countries, I just need to bring it down to really what their success is.
Yeah.
And so, yes, when I'm working in certain countries, and let's just be honest, in most countries, I'm working with men because they're in leadership in these countries around the world. So I'm usually brought in quietly. Nobody wants anyone to know they have a speech coach. And I try to do things that would make sense to them, whether it's alliteration. Let's get down. I travel like you worldwide, and the 3 is the magic number. You don't need more than 3 points. It's red light, yellow light, green light, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, proton, neutron, electron, snap, crackle, pop. Why do you have 4 points? Your audience won't pay attention. So there are certain things that do cross all boundaries. But I have found for most people, I need to watch videos of them speaking. I need to watch how the audience reacts.
Yeah.
And then I try to blend the two together.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So what you do training for medical school interviews, for job interview. Yeah, can you talk a little bit about the various kinds of trainings you do for interviews?
So thank you. Interview is usually just one-on-one. It is medical, dental, college, job, law, and scholarships. Because if you win a scholarship, that's 4 years paid, probably a year overseas. So parents are happy to find me. I just help you understand what's coming. And as you will know, the first question always is, hey, tell me about yourself. And I am shocked how many people can't get through that.
Yeah.
They don't know where to start. They don't know what to add in. So I help with that. But remember, your interview is usually tied to the job description. So I have to have a job description. And then I'll ask you questions, because if you can't answer those, you're not getting the job. So yes, I will say medical, I know it's hard, but it's easier to get in than veterinary or dental. Those are very hard to break into. Wow. But I've gotten more people in all those schools than probably any other coach, frankly, because I have a really cool process where once you have your interview, you have to text Miss Deb the questions you just got. So I have a rolling list of current questions that the deans are asking when the young folks show up.
I see. Okay, so what's it like when somebody books you? How many sessions do you give, and how long do they tend to last?
So it absolutely depends on the person. Some people get it after one session. Some people get it but still want to see me again, usually an hour each time, because I don't know you, you don't know me, and I'll be very blunt. I'm not for everybody. I am tough love. I am not going to baby you. I've had a few medical students I've had to say, listen, I'm not the right coach, because I didn't like their attitude. And goodness gracious, I would never want them operating on me. So I have the choice to leave you also, but you have to like your coach. And I say to folks, if I'm not the right one, I wish you well, but you have to like your coach. It is personal. You have to trust the fact I've been doing this for years and I have a list of success. Now, if you think you're super smart, I wish you well. 9 times out of 10, they come back. But usually it's 1 hour. And sometimes 2 or 3, 4 hours. Again, completely depends on the school, on the young person, on what they're looking to achieve.
Gotcha. Did you go to school for this? How did you get into this?
That's great. So believe it or not, I have a degree in public speaking. There were only like 5 in my graduating class. Everybody did more like drama and stage. And I'm like, I'm not going to be anybody but me. So public speaking, communications was my major. I started in radio and television, which is funny because I left that to go full public speaking and then ended up with a radio show for 5 years. And I, podcast and everything. But yes, I actually have a degree in this. And I'll say what's interesting, what I learned there was a foundation, but nobody talks that way anymore. I have some friends who are now out of the university setting, and they're all trying to break into public speaking coaching. And they're very stilted in their language. And I just want to say, I know you were super impressive at your school, but, in the real world, nobody talks like that.
Yeah.
You need a coach who I say you need a coach who's been successful. You don't do this because you're not successful and you can't do anything else. I am a national speaker. I speak on stage to thousands. So I do what I teach.
Yeah.
You don't see much of that. And people often say, well, she's a little expensive. Let's go find someone else. Okay. Good luck.
Yeah.
But the good news is I get invited back over and over, corporations and clients. And what's funny, I'll start with the son, and then the parents are like, our daughter, our grandson. So I stay with people. It's funny. I start with them when they graduate from high school, they graduate from college, then they get married, then they get a job. And then I become, I guess, Aunt Deb for life because, you build a friendship. And I've got a fellow right now in California. I started with his sister.
Oh, wow.
And the parents were like, he needs you. And he's got a big time job. And he just texted the other day and he's like, I need you. So I come and go with him. Where he needed a new job, we got him a new job. He is now rising through the ranks and he's like, I need to be better. So we'll continue on.
That's amazing. In your life, who has been the most effective or person that you've admired in their public speaking?
That's actually a hard one because I love Tony Robbins, but he has so wrecked his voice. He's hard for me to listen to.
Okay.
I love his energy. It's weird when you read his life story. He thought being so large would be a hindrance, but that has been his success. I am not a fan of these people who have a 3-second morning ritual. Okay, good for you. But I find in that world, they all interview each other and they're all on each other's podcast and they stay in their little network. And listen, more power to you. You and I should do the same thing, Allie, and just keep inviting our friends.
Yeah.
But that world is very unusual. But when you think about somebody who pretty much started with nothing, has become a worldwide phenomenon, who has changed lives for the better, I like his persona. Bless his heart, he wrecked his voice, but he seems like he's a great guy.
Yeah. If we think about the last few presidents, Clinton and Obama and Trump and Biden, what would you say about their and Bush public speaking styles? But Obama has this very unique way of speaking compared to the others. Trump seems to not read any speech and just speak whatever. He'll lean on that podium and he'll be talking for 2 hours. And Clinton has this, he makes you feel like he feels you and he's come down to your level to speak with you. I'm curious, and Michelle Obama, I've admired. It's like you're talking to a girlfriend. I'm curious, what are your thoughts on?
Sure. Yeah. So some of the folks you mentioned, I have zero interest in. I will say I am a Ronald Reagan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
He made you feel like you're listening to your grandfather and that he cared and he loved this country and he wasn't having sex on the side. I'm so sorry. In so many cases, their personal life overshadowed anything they've ever done. And, I'll tell you, you're still seeing that now. Now, what's interesting, out of the few you mentioned, Bush was not a good speaker. Clinton, I believe Clinton kept pushing that persona that I'm one of you and you're the most important person in the room. But his personal life has so absolutely, and for good cause, decimated his reception of the world today. You don't have to like Trump and you don't have to like how he speaks, but he is speaking on a level that so many people understand. I always joke, who has the best walk? And we can all agree it was President Obama. Yeah. He walked like the world was on his shoulders. Yeah. You know, Trump's walk is getting a little bit better too, besides that silly dance he does, which, by the way, swept the nation and the world. Yeah. So I got to tell you, I'm not really sure you have too many presidents you'd like to admire. And again, we all pick who we like. Sure. But your audience today, I don't know if you know this, but the statistics are very frightening. Like 21% of Americans are illiterate. Yeah. 60 something or 70% want you to speak on a 6th grade level. And it's not because they're not intelligent. It's like we have so much information that we just want to comprehend it quickly and move on. So wasn't it Huxley who's, you think back in the world, they're not going to give you any information and you're going to fight and need it. Now we are so overwhelmed. You got to pick and choose what you're going to listen to. Yeah. So those who simplify their speech, not because you're simple, not because your audience is not intelligent, but because you don't have the time. They won't give you the time. I say for most people, if you speak between 7 and 10 minutes and really get to your message, you will be memorable. I won't let any of my clients go more than 20 minutes because what I want people to say is, I could have heard Deb Sofield all day versus Deb went on all day. Yeah. Yeah. So you really need, and then you need to know your audience. Yeah. And you need to know the time of day. So what's interesting, Allie, if I were to get up and if I speak all day and I get to the evening and I'm like, here, let's just move on. Cheer, cheer, cheer. That's a terrible idea. What do most people do when they go home from work? They sit on the couch, they turn on the TV because we're exhausted. So if you're speaking in the evening, you need stories. Yeah. I don't want facts and figures, maybe one or two. But if you're in the morning, you better have energy. Yeah. If you're at lunch, you better have energy and a few stories. Yeah. So again, there's so much that goes into play if you want to be rock star amazing.
Yeah, that's true. When I was getting my master's in London, and I was getting some public speaking training from a woman from church, and she was trying to take me through a little bit of a psychology side of why are you scared of public speaking, and kind of approach the training from there. And then she asked me, I remember, who do you admire? Which public speaker? And at the time I thought Boris Johnson, because he's got a lot of energy and he's, I remember when the London Olympics were coming, and the year before, they had in Trafalgar Square a speech, and he was out there, and he's like, the bikes are ready, meaning like the Barclays street bikes, for people to use, and the facilities are ready, and this is ready, and he was speaking with so much energy, and I thought, wow, I wish I could speak like that because I'm so shy. But just because you're shy doesn't mean that the Boris Johnson style is what you need to live up to. But I think for a lot of times for shy people, they think that that's where they need to get to, and not necessarily.
And that's a mistake, because what we do, I say to my clients all the time, I'm not going to change you. I am going to polish you up to be your very best. Yeah. Because what you bring to the table is different than what I'm going to bring to the table. Yeah. But you're going to reach a group of people that would be maybe a little put off by my energy, my loud, my big personality. And then some of my friends will be like, yep, she's a little quiet, Deb. She needs to come see you. So again, you got to find the balance. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I always say to my clients, people want to hear you. They really do. If you're good and you can bring something to the table that will help me in my life, in my work, in my career, they want to hear you. Mm-hmm. So friend, please speak and speak out loud.
I found Queen Elizabeth to be an effective speaker, though she wasn't boisterous at all. She was able to articulate her point and I feel capture the attention of the audience.
I would agree. And think about the lines we all remember. Recollections may vary.
Yes, yes.
So
Yeah.
you need to be a well-spoken person.
And that was in written form. Like, she didn't even speak that out in a speech, and we still remember that. I think there's a
We do.
podcast named that, Recollections May Vary.
Yes, actually there is. It's her name is Schofield out of
Yes.
California, Hollywood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is fascinating. And it is quite fascinating what you say about the shorter the speech, the better. President Lincoln, you know, he would be out there at debates and his opponent would speak for 2 hours and he'd get up there, pull his speech out of his stovetop hat and speak for like 5 minutes. And the audience, you know, that's it. Yeah.
And who do we remember?
Him. Was
Right.
it Stephen Douglas was his opponent, I think?
I believe so. The one who went on for 2 hours plus.
Yes. And we don't remember him. So
The Lincoln Douglas debates, you're correct. And you think about like at Chautauqua, where up in New York, where they were bringing, you know, the speakers would come and speak for hours. That's history now. Nobody knows these people.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised you didn't say Margaret Thatcher with your time in London. I know she wasn't there when you were there,
yes. Yeah, she was quite, you know, the first woman prime minister, and she was she was confrontational in her speeches. And do you find that women leaders, especially politicians, have to be a little bit more jousty than men? Presidents?
Okay, I love the word jousty. Yes, I do believe. And so I think about Indira Gandhi.
Yeah.
I think about other famous women who, Pakistan,
I was getting ready to say the Pakistani prime minister who was killed. I can't think of her name, but
I know it's just right. But I will say, yes. And I believe that women who use a little bit of humor in a little biting way, it's kind of like, hey, we're going to level the playing ground here.
Yes.
So, but again, it depends on the topic. It depends how much time you have. Depends on the time of day. Depends on your audience.
Yes.
So
Benazir
if you
Bhutto.
Remember, yes, Benazir Bhutto. Very good.
Yes.
Thank you. But when you think about how they spoke, and remember, of their own culture, were able to break through to be heard. Listen, a lot of people are talking. I don't have a lot of people listening. So as a coach, my job is for you to use the words. And I'll just tell you one thing I've been having my clients do, especially if they know there's going to be a TV interview. I say, what are your 3 words? Well, what do you mean? Well, when this interview is over, what are the 3 words you want your audience to remember? Because, Allie, if you'll bubble those up in your brain before the speech or presentation, your brain will naturally put them in your conversation. And next thing you know, you're like, empowerment. Where'd that come from? Well, you bubbled it up. And so your brain is an amazing instrument, but you didn't give it any juice before we started. You just thought you could do this. So before you have any major presentation, what are the 3 words? And again, I go back to 3 because the brain thinks that way. And by the way, I've traveled the world. Asia is the only country where you may be able to add a few more, but most countries, especially in the Middle East, all of the Americas, 3 is your number. But bubble up 3 words that you really want your audience to walk away with. And it's amazing. Once it hits your brain, it comes out of your mouth.
Yeah, fascinating. 2 last questions. As you're a woman of faith, I'm sure you've dived into the book of John and seen Jesus's public speaking style in that book. He's jousty with the Pharisees. Have you ever taken away anything from Jesus's public speaking style into your trainings or how you speak?
Probably more in how I speak. That's a great question, by the way. I would say I love the fact that the Lord spoke in parables. And if you know, you know.
Yes.
And if you don't, you were curious to find out. So that is a way. And again, we just have what we believe is written down as the Word of God. But there are so many aspects of that. And you and I we only have what they wrote. I'm sure there was a lot more.
Of course.
But but when you think about what made it through history, literally millennia of history. So I'm fascinated by the parables.
Yeah.
So simple, so every age group took something from it.
Yeah. Would you say he would be a better evening time speaker, dinner gala speaker?
I don't know, if you're exchanging money in the temple, you're probably the morning speaker.
That's true.
Yeah, but then when you're telling people to step aside and you're going to raise the daughter from the dead, yeah, that's an evening talk.
I'm sure you would be so fascinated if only there were videos of Jesus speaking, just to see how he stood, how he moved his hands. Alliteration.
So think about the woman at the well.
Yeah.
Should have never even engaged.
Yeah.
So what was it about him that was calming enough for her to trust this stranger? And then when he told her who she was, most of us would have run and hide. Yeah. She ran and told.
Yeah. And also how fascinating, he was the seventh man that she encountered. Seven's the number of completion. And she had been, with the sixth, I think she was in with the sixth relationship. And something about encountering Jesus, that completeness. I think Jesus probably intrigues you, when you're speaking to him, and draws you in. I just can't wait to see how he speaks.
Yes.
Because he's the master public speaker. And it's all fascinating. Okay, the last question. What advice do you have to people who, like me, who can be very shy for especially public speaking, where to start, especially if they're in careers where they may have to be speaking?
All right, so Allie, I'll tell you as I tell everybody else, we want to hear what you have to say. So you are denying us when you, out of fear, are refusing to speak. I don't know anybody who goes to a presentation who's looking at their watch and says, "Oh, I hope they're terrible for the next hour." No, we're actually cheering for you. We want you to be good because we have to listen to you. Yeah. So I need for my speakers and those who are listening today, you have a message that somebody needs to hear. How dare you not give it? Yeah. And it's so fascinating because I have clients who are fearful, but what I have found, it's too much ego. It's not about you. I say to folks all the time, listen, you don't have to like Deb Sofield. I hope you do, but if you don't, that's fine. But I pull me out of me and I put me right beside me in a theoretical way. Listen to Deb Sofield's message here, because that message is so important. Don't get bogged down that I've got gray hair and I've got big brown eyes. Don't get bogged down in Deb, who you may not like my politics. You may not like the way I cook. You may not, there are things about me you may not care for. Folks, I'm the messenger. Yeah. So stop with all this fear. What I find is and listen, I get it. It's hard because people are looking at you. Yes, because you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You have a message you're supposed to be giving. So please don't let fear, which is a shroud to cover what you should be shining forth. You and I would agree, you don't put a lamp under a bushel. Yeah. You let it shine. And we all have gifts. Some of us, I've worked on my gift. I'm 30 years in this business. Was I as good in the beginning as I am now? Probably a little bit better now. But I always knew I was going to be a speaker. I can tell you, when I graduated from college, my dad and I were at the beach and everybody was on the shore, and he and I, we were floating in the water. And I remember distinctly, he said, "So Deb, what are you going to do with that public speaking degree?" And I said, "Dad, if I can sway the masses, I can do anything." Yeah. And he just kind of floated away like, okay.
That was so deep.
We've obviously reared a daughter who has no problem with self-esteem. But I've always believed that, and I believe it's important. And friends, if you have a message, it's incumbent on you to share
Yes.
because the world needs to hear what you have to say. And if you need a coach, you've got a friend in me.
Yes, for sure. When I lived in Berlin and with Republicans overseas, they asked me to give a speech to this group on the 4th of July, and I thought, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And I felt God be like, excuse me. And so I said, okay, yes, I'll do it. And I was preparing for it with my landlady's best friend who had some training in public speaking. And I was telling her how I was crippled with fear. And because I had this 11th grade presentation that I was in the middle of, and I just went back to my seat. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do this. And I was crippled by that moment. And she got real close to me and she prayed over me. And she quoted that scripture from Timothy where God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but power, love, and a sound mind. And she said, Father, when she is speaking, help her to know that she is speaking to you. And so every time when I have to get up in front of people, I envision that I am just having a conversation with God face to face in front of
Wow.
the King of Kings. And that's what quiets the nerves greatly. And yeah, that I didn't realize that the devil will give you public speaking fear and cripple you. And I'm like, I don't want to be under the devil's crippling fear spirit. And yeah, that makes a difference.
So, Allie, just real quick, I know you need to end it. I have found as a coach that in life, shame and humiliation as a young person is what will stop you as an adult in speaking. And I've got to walk you back to the time you were in 4th grade and your mother put you in a wig and a little pair of funny shoes, and you did the little talent contest and everybody laughed and you ran off stage crying. That was 4th grade. Nobody remembers. Yes, you were hurt, but you're okay. I've had men, presidents of corporations, say to me, I don't have to speak, I'm the boss. Yeah, but your audience would love to hear from you. Well, when I was in 3rd grade, Allie, it was all I could do not to be like yelling at this guy. You're 60 years old. 3rd grade? That teacher was wrong. But we got to heal that fear and humiliation. I get it.
It might be helpful.
But don't stop.
It might be helpful for elementary schools to have public speaking courses. Because it's
with a positive teacher.
Yes.
And I say, listen, I can't tell you how many times I have to say, your teacher was wrong. You are a good speaker. And you need to let your message be heard. So, yeah, listen, but and I got to tell you, I get it. It never happened to me, but I am dealing with adults. I've got one now in ministry, doesn't want to speak. Yeah. Because when she was in 5th grade, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah. But it hurt. It hurt as a child. Yeah. But we can heal it. Yeah. We can heal it, and we can let you be the person you were made to be. Yeah. You were not made to hide away. I believe that.
I totally agree. And what's worse than being scared, I think, is not being prepared. And I think that when someone gets prepared enough for the speech, you'll get through it versus that fear of you standing up there not knowing what to say. So yeah.
Good,
but you're indeed a blessing to the world and to people.
Oh, thank you.
In other countries, and may God continue to take you around the world to do what he's put on the inside of you to do.
Well, thank you. I so appreciate the opportunity. And yet again, thank you so much for having me today. It's so great to see you. Yes. I see you online doing such great things. Please know your friends back home are so proud of you and all you've done and become. So keep speaking, my friend. The world needs to hear your voice.
Thank you so much, Deb.
I hope that you enjoyed this podcast episode and that you have found a soulful connection to the conversation. God bless you, and until the next episode, go bless somebody else.